Welcome to episode 23. It's crazy that we have this many. Episode 23 of the Monochrome Podcast. We're excited to have you joining us again today. We are talking about Easter because it is coming. It is like a month away. We're talking about some SALT 2025 conference news, which we're excited to share with all of you. And then, of course, we have a really amazing guest that joined us at conference, and we were able to sit down and do an interview with Darius L. And so we're going to talk with him today on today's episode. But if you don't know, if by chance you just click this episode as the first one you're listening to, welcome. This is the Monochrome Podcast. It is a podcast for production people, for creatives, for communication directors and leaders. We are so glad that you are here joining us today. And again, I am joined by Luke McElroy himself.
Hello.
Part of the SALT team. We're all going to talk to you today about some really cool things, starting with Easter. 1 month away, Luke. Can you believe that?
It is 1 month. It's crazy. And, I think that sometimes in the church we can get a little bit caught up on sort of the thing that's always coming. And, one of the things we were talking about as we were prepping for sort of, man, Easter's a month away. What do we talk about? I just wanted to bring a hot take to the table, right?
Ooh,
so
okay.
Hot takes here on the podcast. It's a little bit of, there may be some differing opinions. There may be controversial topic. We don't normally do controversial things, but this is a great safe space that, if you want to yell at your dashboard while driving down the road and engage in this conversation, I welcome you to. I hope that the person next to you thinks that you are crazy to have this conversation, or they just think you're on the phone. They won't know, right? So here's my hot take. I've got young kids. I've got 3 kids, 3 years and younger, right? So we're in it. It's a lot of fun. And in my family, my bigger family, not my immediate family, my bigger family, there's a little bit of controversy over whether or not Easter Bunny is real, whether or not Santa is real, whether or not as a Christian, Santa and Easter Bunny is lying to your kids, or in my belief, which this is my hot take, strong opinion, don't steal your kids' wonder, right? Like, let the Easter Bunny bring some stuff. Just don't let them replace Jesus. I don't know, Caitlin, where do you sit on this Easter Bunny reality thing?
We grew up knowing that it was fun to talk Santa, it was fun to talk Easter Bunny, but we grew up knowing they weren't real. Like, at no point in my life did I think Santa was real, but I still loved all the Santa movies, like obviously Tim Allen's The Santa Claus. I love that we woke up Easter morning to Easter baskets, waiting for us and those kinds of things. It probably fed my love language of gift giving, but I don't know, for us, they weren't real, but we knew they were there. We still had so much fun with it. It didn't take away magic, in my opinion. We just knew that Santa was more like Jesus.
It didn't take away magic because you got all the materialism piece of it still. So like they didn't steal. I have a person in my family who is like so anti it. I'll say this, like my wife and I are kind of like, oh, like what does that do to Christmas? And what does that do to holidays when you have a family member who's like so against it? But I'm with you. Listen, we are all in, so judge me as much as you want. The pagan that I am. I love Jesus. My girls love Jesus. But the thing is, there is just a wonder on their face when they think Santa's coming and the gifts
magic
are coming, or when they think the Easter Bunny spread all these eggs.
Oh,
so, hopefully you're not listening with your kids and we just, ruined all of your childhood's magic. So
this is a podcast for ages, I don't know, what and up. That way we don't kill your imagination.
But I do want to maybe pivot real quick and talk about Easter being a month away. There was an article that Jonathan Malm, who was one of our creators last year, he's been involved with all sorts of different facets of sort of creative church. And he wrote an article years ago where he really brought to the forefront, at least in my mind, the context of Easter and Christmas as it relates to the church. And he wrote this analogy that, like, if there was a new restaurant opening up in town and they were to basically promote, like, the very first service that they were going to offer for the community was this, like, super nice free steak meal. And you come and you get your steak and you can get your side of potatoes and,
Delicious.
It's like nice white linen tables, maybe a candlelight there. Like, the environment was, like, super elevated and special. And you go that first night and you love it. And then you come back the next day and you realize it's a McDonald's and they're still selling beef and potatoes, but it's not the way that you were experiencing it.
A little bit of a
letdown.
Yeah.
A little bit of a letdown. And he was relating that a little bit to the church, obviously in an extreme way of, do we overhype Christmas and Easter? And I love this because, at SALT, we, not to kind of get salty here, But we really do believe that, the best expression of the church is the most authentic expression of the church. And even in our own name, right? As we think about Easter, remember this, that the name of SALT is to sort of say there's a pinch of creativity and technology that gets infused into the gospel message. It gets infused into your church's expression. And the hope is that it impacts your community. In whatever way that means, right? Elevation Church is going to have a little different salt than maybe the local Presbyterian church down the road from me that has 200 or 300 people in a high school or elementary school auditorium. So,
but if you're doing something just so different for Easter Sunday,
are you selling something that's inauthentic, right?
Yeah. I just think of how Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and always. Is your church the same yesterday, today, and always? Well, maybe not yesterday. Hopefully you're always improving in some ways, but
so if I have any encouragement, if I have any encouragement for those kind of stepping into Easter, obviously you're a month out. Hopefully it's planned, or at least hopefully you've started that planning. If not, here's your reminder. Maybe be the superstar that walks in and says, okay, we should start talking about Easter. But man, be yourself, be authentic, and maybe work harder to be a little bit more authentic than a little bit more, right? So there's still encouragement there, but a month away.
Well, hey, speaking of salt, we've got some news to share.
Speaking of salty, we've got some salt news.
Speaking of that little pinch of salt, give us a little pinch of what's coming to the conference this year.
So tickets are now available for the annual conference, SALT 2025. It's going to be October 8th through 10th back here in Nashville, Tennessee. You can get all the details at salt2025.com. But here's my sort of pitch real quick. And if you're new to this community or new to this podcast, you need to know about this. Ministry can be isolating. And I want you to encourage surrounding yourself with other like-minded techs and creatives, geniuses that work in the church. And I hope you take time out of your crazy go, kind of always chasing Sunday. Sunday's always coming to kind of increase your skill set, get a little bit better, refine your craft. Level up your creativity. And so I think SALT Conference is the best place to do that. I'm a little biased, but our team works hard every year for new topics, new teachers, new ways for you to impact your local community. So make sure you go over salt2025.com, Nashville, Tennessee, October 8th through 10th. We'd love to see you. But two kind of teases I think we can bring here. This has not been announced anywhere, which is kind of fun. So if you're listening to this right when it drops, you're going to get insight. So let's talk Masterclass. So Masterclass is kind of our deep dive learning environment, available only to premium ticket holders or higher, which anybody's able to get, but that kind of is the differentiator. And we've got 4 things we've got cooking up that we're about to announce. First, we're working alongside the Passion City Church creative team, the guys who do Passion conferences, that does Lift, that does Grove, that does Passion City Church every week. Leighton Ching and his team are going to basically come and unpack their entire creative process. And over 4 hours in this amazing deep dive, they're going to talk about all the different things of their creative process so that you can level up. We've got Wade Joy, who's going to be coming and teaching on worship. He was the worship pastor at Elevation Church for decades, shepherding and encouraging that team. So I think he's going to have incredible insights there. Brian Taylor.
Woo.
He's been a legend in our community for years.
Him. Yeah.
What I love about Brian is he has worked with small churches. He's worked on the leadership team at Prestonwood. So, the largest church in America, or one of the largest churches in America, to like some of the smallest churches. And he's seen it all. And he's going to come with a leadership class and say, how do we level up your ability to lead and get more out of your creative team?
Yes.
And I think as an expert leadership coach with Slingshot, I think he's going to add a lot of stuff there. And then something we have done over the last couple of years, which has been a huge success, is tech tours. Give a little snapshot real quick, Caitlin, on your perspective of tech tours, and then I'll share where we're going.
Oh, tech tours, to me, this is the production person's almost dream tour for whatever city we're in. They get to go to a church and they get a tour of the production elements. And it's not just, oh, hey, look at our backstage area or look at our front of house. You're talking to the production teams there or the leads on their production and getting the lowdown on their equipment, how they set up for Sunday, what their schedules are, all the nitty gritty of the technical elements as well. And sometimes some hands-on time on the equipment.
Yeah. And so we're excited that the Belonging Co. is going to open up their doors and host a small exclusive group. So if you're interested in the tech tour, sign up soon for that because that one fills up. And what's neat, what you just talked about is like you get a chance to meet with the tech crew. And not sponsors or the integrators or the people trying to hawk gear. Like you're going to hear from Andy Rushing and his team at Blanco. What gear they really are grateful they installed. What gear they kind of regretted. What would they do again if they did it again? So
yeah, and it's very conversational. I will say every masterclass typically there is time to talk. It's a 4-hour master class. It's not just a long lecture. You'll be doing Q&A. You'll be having situations of your own you can share and get insight on. So we always recommend the master class if you can sign up for that premium ticket or above. They're so worth it. Yeah. Ugh,
all right, I want to tease, and I may get in trouble, but I'll get in trouble with myself. So I want to tease a keynote. We haven't talked at all about our keynotes, Caitlin, for Salt.
Oh, you're really dropping the news. Dropping the salt today.
So here's the honest truth, podcast listeners. I just got off the phone with this guy last week. So we're not ready to announce his name, but let me just say this. We're still working out some of the details, but I think he's in. So hopefully I don't regret this and we have to edit this out later. But he worked for Disney for years as like one of their senior top level creators. He actually was in the character voices department. So he's worked on films like finding the characters for Tarzan to Lion King, Frozen to Encanto. And he was telling me the other day, he was a huge part of the team advocating hard to get Chronicles of Narnia film series produced.
Oh, that's awesome.
Here's the thing that I loved about him. In my hour-long conversation with him, it was so obvious that he is a devout follower of Jesus Christ. And he wore Jesus on his sleeve every day when he was at Disney. He's now working with The Chosen and some other things. He's kind of stepped away. So we'll be able to announce him soon. But like that's the sort of people we're going to get a chance to hear from at SALT 2025. So don't miss out. Real quick, group discounts are available. Mark your calendars, October 8th through 10th, Nashville, Tennessee. All the details are at salt2025.com, including schedule, ticketing information, and more. Guys, we cannot wait to see you this fall. Don't miss it.
Yes, we hope you can join us. And speaking of Disney, when I hear Disney, I think of storytelling. When I think of Easter, I think of storytelling as well. It is like the key time
the greatest
to be
story
grabbing, right? Greatest story ever. And I did because you know me, Luke, my mindset is always the to-do list and the logistics. I think, okay, Easter, we're grabbing testimonials. That's what Easter's for. But all of that leads me to say, if you're feeling like you need a little extra help this Easter, we've got some workshops for you. I don't know if you guys have ever checked out saltuniversity.com, but it is our learning library here for SALT. A lot of conference replays of workshops, a lot of other foundational videos that we've done, and just tons of learning resources. But there is one specific one in there that made me think of Easter and the prep and the planning and the testimonials that people do. But it is with Clark Campbell, and it's called It's Not the Gear, It's the Story. And I think I live and am surrounded by a lot of technical people who are all about the gear, but we know not every church has the budget to have the newest, best camera, the newest, best audio equipment, and the newest, best, set design or builds or whatever it may be. And so Clark does this great workshop, and I really encourage you guys to go check out if you can, where he's talking about how, basically what to do with the gear you have and how gear is not the most important thing. Now, it might be, the most obvious thing, especially to those production people that are so into it. But at the end of the day, for the audience that you were making these videos for, your church congregation, the story is what matters most. And I just encourage you guys, go check out this workshop from Clark. It's not the gear, it's the story, because he dives into the importance of your storytelling as a videographer, as a video editor, as a team planning this. And for Easter, it's a great time for that refresher, if anything, to know that you're going to be hearing stories. You're maybe going to be gathering stories during or after Easter. Maybe it's a reminder, go gather some of those stories after Easter and just focus on what the most important part of it is, not necessarily the gear.
Let me say this about Clark. First off, world-class human, by the way. He's based out of kind of the Chattanooga area. He has grown up working in and through the church. So he's not just kind of this outsider trying to tell the church how to focus on story over gear. He was a youth pastor for years, and he's been a part of some of the largest events helping capture and create their content, whether it's Orange Conference or LeaderCast or youth
so
specialties.
The man has had the gear
SEC tournament. Yeah, I mean the SEC basketball tournament, he's their team. So he and I have jokingly said that if he ever gets the Masters contract, I will work for free for however many days he needs.
Half our team will want to come with you.
Yeah. He's like, well, you're not the only person that said you'd work that for free. I'm like, see, it's going to be more cost effective for you. So anyway, but he's world class. He's been in the church and he's been in incredible environments. So a guy like that, by the way, also fun fact, I don't even know if we've announced this. He's coming back to SALT. So
we have not announced that. Oh my gosh.
So I'm just here dropping all sorts of hints. Yeah. All right. I'm going to shut up before I keep getting in trouble.
We don't have any spoilers for the future. We spoiled it all now.
JT's not on this podcast episode, so I can
there
leak things. Yeah.
Well, we were able to sit down at conference last year with an amazing human being who's able to come teach at conference and just share a lot of his story. Darius L. Carter. He taught a workshop. He sat down with you, Luke, to discuss something he's a little famous for. I won't spoil it. I'll wait till y'all do the interview. But he has worked with the ultimate superstar and celebrity. And he was able to tell Luke his story and give a little tidbits into photography and his experience doing that. So let's take a listen.
Let's go. I am so excited to be here at SALT Conference with my friend Darius L. Carter. Welcome.
Man, thank you. I'm excited to be here with you, Luke.
You have an amazing fun fact about you. You know, like when you do like icebreakers and they'll do like 2 truths and a lie, or like, oh, give me a fact that like no one knows about you. You have one that I think maybe tops everybody. Would you give a little glimpse? I don't want to steal your thunder, but would you give a little glimpse of something you were part of within the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, most recently, and if you don't know, but I am a portrait photographer. I'm a fine artist by trade. And most recently, I helped in the commission project of Oprah Winfrey. A close friend, close brother of mine's, painter, fine artist guy, commissioned to do her for the National Portrait Gallery, which is where the famous Obama and Michelle portraits are by Amy Schild and Kende Wiley. So to be called to be the person to capture the references for the painting, you know, the shot that will be the shot to use to have creative control, creative direction.
And that's basically so that Oprah doesn't have to stand for like 8 hours.
Right. Because she did ask. You know, she was like, Sean, what's your process? Like, am I sitting here? It's like old school back in, you know, or what? He's like, no, I work off an image, high-res image in my private studio, you know, and there's one guy, you know, and he called, and from that call, you know, called me on a Wednesday, captured it the next Wednesday.
You had 1 week to prepare for the biggest shoot of your life.
1 week.
Oh my gosh. Walk me through that process. What tools did you bring? What equipment? What was your mind going through? Did you get to choose where? Did Sean drive that?
So we kind of both drove it in a sense. I was 100% with Sean. That's my brother who calls me in this need. It wasn't even, this is Oprah Winfrey, but this was a moment for him. This is in a space of like, let's serve and see what this mission is. And getting there, I didn't know what, you know, he's like, meet me at the airport. I'm flying in on Tuesday, and we're going to just meet me at the rental car place. I'm like, what can I bring that will fit him, his luggage, and his manager? And I was like, okay, I mean, I'm the minimalist guy. So I got a one light, I got a 1200 aperture, and I was like, this will give me enough light if we have to go outside or even inside. I can play around with that a little bit.
So showing up, didn't know where you were going to be.
I didn't know where I was going to be. And I was like, make sure I got my camera body and some lenses. I had about 2 or 3 lenses. I literally had 5 items.
Whoa.
It's like David and Goliath, like 5 smooth stones. I had 5 items. You know, I had the camera, I had my light, I had 2 lenses, and I had a reflector dish that sat underneath. And when we got there, I was like, okay, where am I unloading? Where am I? And then her team was like, well, you know, that's up to you guys. You know, we have these carts here for you guys to ride around the property. And
because you're at her house, is that right?
At her house,
yeah.
You know. And
how much time did you actually get with Oprah?
We spent about 3 hours, I would say. At most, about 2.5, some change because moving and setting up. I didn't want to hold her too long. But overall on the property, probably spent about 5 hours.
She did all of this with so little gear. Did Sean know the moment you took the photo that's probably the angle and the location and all that? Or how many pictures did you take and how'd you guys narrow it down?
Like, it was all God. Let's just say that.
I love it.
It was all God. I also brought in my all-in-one, my Mac my iMac.
Okay.
So I can tether. So I was saying this will be easier for me to make a process to get them to understand what we're going after, for him to have the eye. He's painting it to see if there's more
right away
of stuff that he might want. You know, he might want textures of just her hands.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he wants to get those feels. So those are...
Oh, so you took a lot of photos literally just to give him details. Okay, so there was the pose, because I know you showed me that photo.
Yeah.
That ended up being, but there's a lot of others after that you were really trying to capture.
Throughout it, because that's kind of how his mind works. He kind of likes to go through it all. You know, he may say, I like this texture or this. And but we had that image shot, and that was us dancing. We're playing around. We did this move. I was like, give me the hip dip. We were dipping our hip. And she gave me the hip dip and was holding out the olive branch. And someone captured the shot, the moment of us getting that moment that was selected.
That's so
But
cool.
we breezed through a few of them while we were there. But I think later on is when we found 2 weeks or so afterwards is when he hit me and was like, she's selected. And I was like, selected what?
The picture.
The picture. I'm like, I didn't know she had the gallery.
So much in this story I want to unpack. I want to unpack for first. I'm sure someone listening to this is saying, wait a minute, Darius, you only had one light, you only had one reflector, like 2-3 lenses. What would you say to someone who may be thinking like, man, to get the perfect shot, I need all the tools at my disposal?
I would say that is a lie from the devil. I would say all you need is what you have already inside of you. Like I said with David and the 5 smooth stones, you know, his battles before that, lions and tigers, you know, this is what you have already inside of you. You're equipped for it. A lot of the frequently asked question that I get a lot is, what kind of camera is that? I'm like, it could be my iPhone. It's the person behind it that's capturing it. It's about what they're feeling in the moment, how they see it, and then getting it back that way. The technicals is something we can learn quickly, honestly, but being present is what takes the longer time to learn, because we're so in our heads about the technicals that we lose the moment in the moment.
The other part of that story that I want to extrapolate is the fact that you got her dancing. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I could sit back and think like, if I'm working with Oprah, I don't have the like courage and confidence to go, all right, Oprah, let's start dancing a little bit, you know, getting loose. Like, where did that confidence come from?
I think over time, I think starting at church, you know, leading in church and capturing the people walking into those doors for the first time and seeing them throughout worship, seeing them throughout that, you grew this connection with a person that you didn't know. And you got to meet for the first time through a frame. And then hopefully you see them coming out and say, hope you enjoyed your Sunday today. And over time doing that.
You're using the camera as a way to break down the barrier to meet someone.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that over time, it just taught me that we're all people.
Yeah.
I've been in front of a lot of influential people, you know, people who are billionaires and people who aren't, you know, and we all are people. We're all on the search. We all have a purpose. And my purpose in that moment was to capture her essence that will live for a lifetime. So I wanted to make sure we represented someone who was full of joy, someone who was full of light. I'm from Chicago, so daytime television in my home was nothing but her. And listening to that is saying that it brought so much joy. That's what I can remember.
That's cool.
And in those moments, it's just me and the person.
Now, when you were at the church that you are still part of, but you were actually leading for a long time there, that entire photography team. I remember you and I talking about like the role of the photography team and meeting people. What would you say to them on a regular basis to sort of encourage them to either improve their craft or, you know, obviously you said like we can quickly learn technicals, but what do you do to like give them that sort of perspective, that heart that you have of the ministry that's behind the camera?
Man, good question. Actually, that answer was just happened a few weeks ago at a conference I did in Arlington. I had a team of 10 photographers that I led to cover Globe Life Stadium, 40,000 people for 3 days. And these are photographers I hadn't worked with. So this was a team that was kind of like, we got some guys here that can help you move around. And what I said to all of them was, be present, have fun, Allow God to truly download into you what's happening in the moment, and it'll open you up to see what's actually happening in the room.
Yeah. And
then raise your camera to get it. And I'm here, and I'm usually always a hands-on type of leader. So I'm there if you got a question, it's like, oh, hey, how do I? And I'm there to help you with that. But most of the times I give you those quick 3 lighting setups for shutter, aperture, ISO, and say what your pros and cons are for this and certain type of moments. And then it gives you like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me, But the main thing is that be in it, be present too, feel it. We're not going to miss it. Feel it, and then we'll get it.
I love it. Darius, I love your heart, and I've loved getting to know you. Even being here this week at SALT Conference is just such an encouragement to creatives who serve in the church. You are a strong believer. You love Jesus. You're an incredible photographer.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm just curious, what would you say to encourage this community? Those of which many are probably photographers or aspiring artists and stuff like that. What would you say to them to sort of step into their calling a little bit better?
I would say lean more into your uniqueness. You were created by a creator in the image and the likeness. Everything that I created is different. Everything that I shoot is different from the last, which is the same as us. I'm a portrait photographer, but I'm not the same as another portrait photographer. We are all seeds into the earth, just like a tree. We bear fruit. There's many orange trees, but they all are different oranges. So the more that you lean into your uniqueness, the more that the world can see what we've been missing. And then we will embrace more, but we'll bring you in more, and you will feel that embrace.
I love it. Darius L. Carter, thank you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you're pouring out.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning into the podcast today. We're so glad you joined us. We hope you enjoyed all the spoilers that Luke dropped, because there were many. And be sure to tell your friends so that they know what's happening at conference this year as well.
Yeah, don't give them the spoilers. Just say, hey, you got to go listen to the latest Monochrome episode.
Don't spoil the spoilers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Make sure to check out the show notes. We will have links to everything we talked about, more details, info about our guests, so you can get everything that was there. And then make sure to subscribe. Again, maybe you've just been searching us on Spotify every week or looking us up on YouTube. Be efficient. Don't keep typing it in. Just hit subscribe. We're right there on your main homepage and dashboard. You can just click to play. It'll be awesome. But the other thing that is super helpful for us as a team and as a podcast is when you share us with a friend, when you drop a 5-star rating, and of course, when you join us again next week. Because next week, Luke, we have another really awesome guest. You talked about Disney this week.
Disney, yeah.
We got DreamWorks next week.
From DreamWorks to Disney.
We're having Rick Rekedal, who is the former VP at DreamWorks. He's talking about projects he's worked on like Trolls, Prince of Egypt, and my personal favorite, How to Train Your Dragon. Absolutely love that movie. It was like starry eyes looking at Rick Rekedal as he talked about How to Train Your Dragon. But please join us next week. It is an amazing conversation, and we hope to see you then.
All right. See you guys.